Just 2 more series and 2 more players to send to Gamers 8 in a few moments' time, or maybe a few hours' time, depending on how long these series go. Joining me to my left-hand side here to talk about the next one, it's Fear Dragon and Zombie Grub here. The mix-up, the change. And CG, we now have a TVT on the way here between 2 Terrans that I thought in my head might not meet that much, considering the different regions that they actually come from, but I was surprised to find they kind of do meet each other quite a bit, which is cool.
I mean, a few times a year. Yeah, certainly not all that much. It's not like you're playing in a lot of the online cups against each other, because SpeCial doesn't join the European ones, which makes a lot of sense. He's either in, Mexico or he's in Korea, so.
True.
Anyways, but I think overall we can still get enough information from their respective TVTs to have a decent idea as to how this would look, on top of some of the historical context, which is that SpeCial most recently won against Spirit, but Spirit has just been improving so much over the last 4 months that, I don't know, I actually favor this for Spirit.
Fair. Here's the bracket and how it's shaped up so far. Fear Dragon, of course, we came off the back for a Spirit of a 2-0 against Lambo, looking pretty darn good in that one. But going up against SpeCial, it's a different beast. It's a different challenge that is presenting itself to get to Gamers 8 here.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because there is definitely the Spirit versus Lambo series, I think, really showcased that Spirit is looking quite good. And hey, I mean, SpeCial's also overall playing well because, I mean, he beat Raynor earlier on in the winner's bracket and everything. But I think the other thing that I really want to bring up is Spirit series versus Humarine. Spirit didn't win, but even Humarine himself in the interview that we had, or like, you know, the 5th attempt or whatever at the interview that we had yesterday, Humarine was talking about, I was like, yeah, you know, Spirit was actually the more difficult matchup compared to Oliveira, who's like the world champion right now. And it's just because Spirit, I think in TVT, we even saw this at IEM Katowice, has such a good TVT, and he's so good at fighting it out, even sometimes when he falls a little bit further behind.
Here they are, SpeCial versus Spirit. It does make me wonder on the side of SpeCial. This is like even thinking beyond the game's EG. Obviously, SpeCial, his mindset in life has kind of changed, everything like that. He's looking trim, he's looking fine. He's constantly posting videos and pictures of him in the gym and things like that. And genuinely, I think that probably kind of pushes forwards your kind of mentality towards the game as well. He seems kind of crisper. He's taking these wins where I would think, okay, maybe you're not going to win against this guy. I think he probably just has a great outlook on life and the game right now.
Well, I'd hope so. I haven't talked to him, so, you know, as personally as that, but I think that, you know, it usually helps. Anything going well out of game is going to help you in game as well. And I think it has helped SpeCial a little bit. Unfortunately, it is not some magic cure-all where, you know, you what is the mean? Go to the gym, get jacked, and then whatever it is. Where you just suddenly, like, your life is just figured out, right? So it's not like it's boosted him a ton of levels. He's a bit better. He's a bit sharper. I think he's getting those moments where it could just go 50-50 south or good for him. It's getting more good for him. But overall, I would say the person who has impressed me with their increased skill level of the past, again, 4 to 6 months has absolutely been Spirit. So
Sure.
I don't know what's going on in his life, but whatever it is seems to be working for him because he is playing really, really great.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose on that side, you can't all be deep Fear Dragon. You can't all be jacked up and good to go. But Fear Dragon, looking at how this might play out here as we take a look at the map views, and they're going as well. They're leaving. Who would you favor? Are you kind of on the Spirit hype train as well, or do you think that SpeCial can make something happen here?
Wokelars. I do feel like I echo a lot of the sentiments that Zombie Grub had. Although, you know, I gotta say, SpeCial seems to be feeling good. He does seem to be feeling good about the whole gym thing. Maybe that is the magic that's going to turn around. I don't know if you've seen his Twitter discussions about all of his gym workouts and everything, but he really does seem like it feels like his solution to life. But I do think he's gonna need a solution to Spirit because, again, I think momentum-wise, and this is weird to say, given that SpeCial just beat Raynor yesterday in a TVZ that looked really damn good. Spirit is the one that I feel like has momentum right now. Spirit is actually the one that I think is gathering a lot of eyes on him, I guess. And I think a lot of people have high expectations for him.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head, especially with the Hero Marine interview that we had. He almost laughed it off that he was able to beat Spirit in the TVT, which is a little bit ridiculous, all things considered, when you think about the names involved and stuff like that. And as ZG says, kind of the rise of Spirit. It's been very steady as well, ZG. It's not been like, okay, all of a sudden, you know, there's these crazy peaks and troughs. It's just constant, quiet, consistent play from Spirit.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely one of those players who's just been putting in the work. You know, everyone, you know, says he gets shouted out as the practice partner and that he's grinding on ladder all the time. And unfortunately for him, it hasn't given him those leaps and bounds that maybe we saw like from Raynor earlier on in his career when he just suddenly exploded onto the scene and got second place in Montreal. But he is finally reaping some better rewards, I suppose. His performances in both Katowices, actually, this year especially, sure, and TVT being the highlight. But even last year, we did make sure to note that Spirit just performed well in both of those global finals. So, you know, he definitely is reaping some better rewards, and I hope it continues for him, because it feels like the ultimate keep your head down, do the work, Rock Lee type of style that I think we all kind of are secretly hoping will work out. And the person who does the most work wins. Not to say that SpeCial doesn't, by the way, because SpeCial has also been known as very much a hard worker and
of course
practices all the time. But yeah, for Spirit, he's just kind of been under the radar. Now he's on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. It is time to head on over to the commentators here for a best of 5. It's another Terran moving forward into Gamers Able. Which Terran is it going to be? Let's find out.
We will find out indeed, Kalaris. All the TVTs for Roddy this week, Cats, but I couldn't be happier to see you on my side. And a fun TVT between two guys that honestly are pretty damn hot at the moment. I agree with everything that was said at the desk there. I feel like they're both in shape, and it should be an awesome best of 5.
Yeah, I think so as well. Especially, like, I agree that Spirit looks a little bit hotter right now, but SpeCial has always been a staple of TVT in particular. Latin America, he wins by defeating Kelasor every season pretty much. And, you know, he was kind of forged in the fires of Korean StarCraft to a good degree, where TVT is required as a specialty, right? So he has always been very strong in the matchup. So I would not be surprised if he ends up staking it. I think it's going to be a very close one.
Yep, it should be a close one. It should be a fun one. For both of these guys, this could very well be the best shot they have at qualifying. I know we're getting a bit carried away because this is only the opening weekend and there is another weekend of games ahead of us. But the players that are left and the players that will be joining us next week, think of the likes of Clem, it's really not going to get a whole lot easier. So this could be a do or die moment for both of these guys, and that makes it an awesome TVT best of 5. In the bottom right side, we're looking at the main base of our Mexican Terran getting the dub yesterday, well, at least the previous day against Raynor. Yesterday, unfortunately, didn't go well against Serral, but he's looking good. He's looking fly. Sidestorm Gaming's SpeCial.
Looking trim as well, according to Kalaris. Not an adjective that you see often thrown around. And in the top left-hand side, it is his opponent, the Rock Lee of StarCraft. It is Spirit.
Gresvan as our opening battleground, the map that has produced a couple of epic TVTs over the last few months. We hope that Spirit got over that minor throw that he had on this map against Gabe, because that obviously did not quite work out for him the way it should have. He was in such a magnificent spot. 5 bases, all the sensor towers, ahead in pretty much every single department you could be ahead in the TVT, and Gabe managed to catch him out of position and get the job done. Let's hope he forgot about that game, or at least learned from it.
Yeah, for sure. As we already have a SpeCial opening with double gas versus Spirit's 1 gas expand, so it's going to be a SpeCial on the aggression, looking to kind of make up for the mining loss that Spirit is going to have an edge on, and on Spirit to defend. But he did well on that regard against Big Gabe. So yeah, let's see what happens. A SpeCial will confirm the CC first, or the fast CC rather.
The CC on the low ground, on location. A little bit greedy. Don't hate it, but I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just the right way to start a best of 5 off, right? Just do things a little bit different. Don't go for the double gases. Go for the 1 barracks, 1 gas, fast expand. And basically put the ball in SpeCial's corners. Like, hey, you want to do something about it? Because if you don't, I'm going to be pretty far economically ahead very early on into this TVT.
Yeah, and Special does have the capabilities for aggression here, right? Because he did open with that early gas and got the very early scout. So if he has something in his repertoire to look to punish, and he very much seems to think that he does, as we already have a proxy out on the map, and it will be a very quick starport.
Well, that could be a sexy way to get some early economic damage done. Since we have a few Hellions on the way, it could very well be just unload a few Hellions into the main base, because obviously the Reapers, they don't have to worry about that wall off in the front. They don't have to be dropped into the main base. They can just hop into the main. So the idea of a couple of Reapers hopping into the main base and then a couple of Hellions being dropped by the medevac, honestly, something I can get behind, and it's, I think, an opening that could definitely find a lot of success early on. And since the work accounts are so low in this phase in the game, if Special just gets like 10 SCVs here or so, I think he will already be more than happy with it. It is time that they start working on his own command center, isn't it, Cats? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I think he is just putting a lot of X on this one basket to do a little bit of damage, and I honestly kind of love it. Like, obviously Special is the expert in this matchup, but yeah, I like what you're saying about the Hellions potentially going into the main. It's going to be on Spirit first to guess that Special is doing something like this, and then to try to be prepared on two potential fronts. He already has the bunker at the front. Here's the two Hellions into the medevac, as well as the three Reapers. There is a Cyclone, but the Reapers can be microed into the medevac, and they will be. However, with the SCV pool and the extra Marines being pulled from the bunker, it might just be enough for Spirit if Special is not too careful here, as one Hellion does fall.
Yeah, that's not the damage that Special was looking for, but obviously there is more to it. He does have one Hellion in a very good spot between these mineral patches in the natural, getting a couple of sweet shots off. 3 SCVs have fallen. The Liberator will be followed up as well, and now he's kind of sending it, going for the Cyclone in the main base. That will not work out. Special does keep the medevac alive. Still think he needs quite a bit more though, because look at our production tab, as the Observer is showing us as well. This command center is 20% done. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the Orbital command is up and running and dropping mules non-stop. Special needs more, and I'm sure he knows that.
Yeah, he has the tools to make more happen, but this time around Spirit spots the Liberator and deflects the first instance of aggression from that Liberator. However, Special is going to take note of that, try to make something happen in the natural, but Spirit, again, with a wonderful defense, having the units in the right places every single time. Let's see, this time, maybe not this time. Jinx, them Caster Curse, going to have to evacuate that SCV line.
Yep, but the Cyclone is nearby. Did not get the lock on there. That's a bit unfortunate. Especially is supply blocked for actually a pretty long time, right? Look at that command center. Not quite done yet. Supply depot only halfway done. The big gnarly 55 out of 55 supply block. In the end, we lose the Liberator, so we can fire up a Dead Raven as the Reapers have unloaded into the main base once more. I feel like what Special's doing, it's all very annoying, but it's still not quite finding the success that he needs to justify the opening. The super late CC as this medevac is starting to drop awfully low on HP, but it will live for now. I mean, it's a good effort so far, but still not quite enough.
Yeah, it's been a great effort from Special. He has completely avoided the tank and still not been able to find damage. A lot of it, of course, is the investment into the Liberator, which gets completely shut down by the good positioning on the Cyclone from Spirit. But otherwise, I mean, Special has attacked in the right places, right? First with the first Hellion, running in past an empty bunker because he knew that the Marines were atop of the ramp. So, and then avoiding the tank again, loading into the main, and then still not finding damage because Spirit has every unit in the right position.
Yep, 6 worker lead, and that's obviously something that has to be a bit concerning, because that's just a few too many workers to be behind in a 6-minute game when we are playing a mirror, when we are working with the same units and most likely are heading into the same direction. As the Spirit is going to try to drop an auto turret in the main base of SpeCial, and there are very few units to deal with this, so I think 2 SCVs will fall, and of course a lot of lost mining time. That's not what you need when you're already the one who's been mining a whole lot less. It really all kind of comes down to this push in the front, right? Special needs to put a lot of pressure on Spirit and ideally just kind of break him.
Yeah, but Spirit, I mean, he is sending both Ravens out in a position where he doesn't need to do economic damage. So I am completely with you. Special is going to have to do a lot with this attack, but Spirit is kind of offering him an opening of sorts by sending both Ravens out. That leaves Special's Raven to actually get involved in the fight and potentially make something happen. Spirit does have a very nice 3 siege tank line, and they are behind a bunker already. So Special is going to have to crawl towards them and then get to use his Ravens. But I wouldn't put it past him to still break through because, okay, Spirit did bring back one of the Ravens at least.
Yeah, always got triple Raven, perhaps even. Yeah, he's got triple Raven, so one, no, two Ravens at home. There's 3 Vikings out as well, and obviously as long as Spirit has more Vikings, which he has at the moment, he's still finding economic damage on the other side of the map. SpeCial knows that the clock is running, and sure, he's a 3-base Terran, so you could say like, oh, maybe he doesn't have to. Can he just go for the contain? Well, he's gonna have to contain Spirit for a very, very long time, and the more he's containing, the more vulnerable he'll be at home as well. Running into it seems like that's suicide, and that's obviously not something that's going to do a whole lot, so the contain option is the one he's going to go for. Honestly, it kind of feels like we're containing an absolute animal, though, that's going to break free eventually.
Yeah, that is very much the problem, right? It's like, yeah, you can set up a contain if you don't see an opening, and maybe going in is suicide, but is it also suicide to just not do anything? So SpeCial is still angling for some damage, maybe looking for gases or something like that. Not the best map for it, but at least this Viking maybe can kill a Raven or something like that. The supplies are even, the worker difference isn't that big, and SpeCial isn't too far behind as far as the third. But the pieces, I think, are a little bit better for Spirit, who has had a fantastic early game.
Yeah, we can't ignore the fact that Stim is literally done now for Spirit, and he's got double eBay. He's got 1-1 upgrades on the way as the tanks are getting in range of one another. Viking Khan heavily favoring Spirit here as he drops a couple of interference matrices as well, just to make damn certain that he's going to win that Viking fight. One of the tanks dropped to very low HP, but Spirit kept it alive. It really does feel that Spirit is just getting further and further ahead in this game. Maybe if SpeCial just never wants to go into bio and he goes all out mech, we can just turtle with Viking tank and we can drag this game out. That medevac drop is going to get shut down before it ever gets truly going as well. And it really does feel that we are heading towards a relatively one-sided affair. And SpeCial drops in eBay now, but I guess that's mostly for missile turrets, right?
Yeah, I would think so. At this stage, I agree with you. I think that mech is probably the way. Just trickle out those units and try not to lose them. But here comes Spirit. He's gonna bust out with everything, and he has plenty to do so. I wouldn't be surprised if SpeCial taps out here, because he really doesn't have or won't have much more to work with. So Spirit is gonna match SpeCial's third in a timely fashion as well. And SpeCial, well, the one thing that he has, I guess, is double star per production. But even then, he's so far behind that he's not using it for air control. He already lost that fight earlier, like you pointed out, thanks to the Raven help as well on the side of Spirit. So instead he's going for a Banshee, which just seems so desperate to me, right? Like he wants to find any sort of economic damage, but he may not live to see it.
Well, we talked about containing an absolute animal, and that was the animal that had enough of being in a cage. Spirit broke free, spread his wings, and even before Combat Shield ever kicked in, he takes a pretty convincing 1-0 lead. He went for the one barracks, fast expand on the low ground, on location. SpeCial decided to stay on one base for a long time, tried to find a lot of damage with the medevac, Hellions, Reapers, Liberators, but was just not quite able to find it. And if anything, Spirit found more damage with his Raven arrest on the other side of the map.
Yeah, it was really a beautiful defense from Spirit there, and I really would put it to the stoppage of the momentum that comes from just shutting down that Liberator, right? Because when you are trying to snowball those leads or the aggression, not really a lead because he never found it, you need to find the holes every single time, and he did manage to find them, for example, against Raynor. Those Liberators off of a proxy were doing so well in that matchup, but here against Spirit, with the tool that is the Cyclone, it doesn't quite work out, and the absolute animal that Spirit is breaks out, like you were saying, and yeah, crushes him.
Very solid game by Spirit, who just continues to look very impressive. It really is beautiful to see. For the longest time, we kept on hyping him up. He's the great practice partner. It's just a matter of time before he had great runs. And then throughout the years, he had his moments. We often talk about that big win over Stats at the IEM Katowice Open bracket, a year after Stats finished top 2 in that tournament. But right after that, it just kind of went downhill again. And then he had a couple decent runs and it went downhill. But what he has been showcasing us over the last few months, it's just very impressive, and none of it is a one-off anymore. He keeps on doing it in different regions, different tournaments, in different matchups as well. Spirit is on point, and it's really cool to see.
Absolutely, and I like the observation on consistency and kind of like that slow build-up that Zombie Grab was pointing out when it comes to Spirit. It is very akin to that European versus Korean mentality that we were talking about yesterday, that the Koreans and the Europeans themselves were talking about, where Europeans tend to look towards perfection, and so like the build-up tends to be a little bit slower, and Koreans tend to be a little bit more hectic. And Spirit is kind of, in a sense, the embodiment of this European mentality of building up slowly. He is a player that has his own playstyle, and over time he just improves because he keeps doing kind of like the same things conceptually, right? Like we've known him to be this macro Terran that when he has an advantage, he usually added extra CCs, and now he's flourishing into this player where he has had enough experience doing these things that he can fan out to try and perfect other areas of his play, and that's really when I think he becomes really dangerous and really consistent as well, kind of like a hero marine type player. I don't think we'll see him drop many series against lesser players from this point on.
But this man should not be a lesser player. He should be his equal. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the man who came out guns blazing in this tournament with that impressive victory over Rainer. Can he turn things around in this very important TVT best of 5 qualifying match? Cistern Gaming's SpeCial.
And in the top right-hand side, leading 1-0, his opponent, the absolute animal, his Spirit.
You like that, Cats? Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Now, but the man has been on fire lately, and this is awesome to watch, man, because you don't often think that players, after that many years of playing StarCraft non-stop, and let's be honest, the man is a grinder, right? He is not a Cero that only plays in one tournament every couple months and then tries to showcase how good he is. Spirit plays a lot all day, every day. He's laddering, custom games, online tournaments, and we kind of thought that we saw his peak, right? Where it's like, okay, you're a very solid top 16 player easily, top 8 on a good day, but that is it for you. But it kind of feels that he's punching through the ceiling over the last few months, and it's really awesome to watch after all these years.
Yeah, for sure. I really think that this type of methodical player always has that slower build-up. I think his trajectory, while not as quick as Serral's, is similar in the sense that Serral first started as that macro beast, unbreakable, and he still has all the elements of that. And now Spirit, we're seeing him just kind of do more things, right? Like not just rely on his defense and his macro, but rather take the initiative or at least go on the counter offense decisively, just like we saw at last game. Whereas in previous times, he might have just, expanded faster to a fourth and sat back and then allowed SpeCial back into the game. Here he was like, nope, I'm gonna kill you right now.
Yeah, we definitely missed a little bit of that killer instinct in the past, and it's great that you are confident in the late game, right? It's great that you are able to master perhaps the most difficult thing of StarCraft 2, and that is be on 4 or 5 bases, have a lot of minimap awareness, be comfortable splitting up your army if necessary. But if all of those things are not necessary, sometimes it really is better to just keep the game simple for yourself. And if you're in a great spot, okay, SpeCial actually wins the Reaper skirmish. It felt that Spirit was winning it at first, but SpeCial gets the best of Spirit there, and that's actually a great little moment to get the best of your opponent, because Spirit went for a reactor after that first Reaper, and that means it's gonna take a little while before Reaper number 2 and 3 are out. At least there is a little race car to save the day for now, but advantage SpeCial for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ever going to win a Reaper fight, you want to win it right there and then right next to the building CC of your opponent. Delaying that is absolutely huge. And we saw SpeCial jiggling and kind of being a little bit insecure with this Reaper, thinking maybe there is one Marine being produced, and if he comes out, I'm just going to die. So allocates a little bit of attention there, and it definitely pays off. So now this follow-up, maybe not so lucky, as the first Hellion will fall, and Spirit will kind of regain control of this early game.
Reapers are gonna be stuck though. There is obviously a Hellion coming from the natural, so SpeCial now has to be aware of the fact that these Reapers will fall. The real question is how many SCVs are gonna be able to take them down with him. Unfortunately for him, not too many. Obviously gets a good scout off, right, and then managed to cause a little bit of a delay on the CC, and it's a night and day difference if you compare just expand timings to that previous game where Spirit, his orbital was done before SpeCial pretty much started his own CC. This time around we can see that SpeCial's orbital is done, while Spirit is only starting his upgrade to the orbital command.
Yeah, and I actually, even though the Reaper is a more expensive unit than the SCV on paper, I actually kind of like that special traits him, right? Because they are gonna fall off, and we see that he already has Cyclones in production, so he's gonna be safe as well. He doesn't need to match his opponent's number of Reaper Hellion in order to kind of hold anything. The Cyclone will do that for him. So just having that SCV lead will be compounding interests over time and will bode well for the chances of a SpeCial in this game.
Yep, Ravens on the way. We've obviously seen a lot of TVTs being decided by that first big Ravens skirmish. TVT, I think, can be a beautiful matchup, Cats, and we've seen a couple of good ones already throughout this tournament. The only time that I think it sucks is when you look at, for instance, yesterday, Oliveira, Hero Marine. It's a whole lot of build-up, and then it all comes down to who gets the interference matrix off first, who drops the other turrets quicker. It's kind of hope that this game will not be decided by that. Now, SpeCial sprinkled in a Banshee as an opener. Now we have to see where the units are defensively of Spirit. He kind of reveals it ultra early on. Gets 2 SCVs though and keeps full HP on the Banshee for now. So I guess that's an alright start since it wasn't the biggest investment. There is no cloak, no second Banshee, no third Banshee. And I guess it's okay for now.
Yeah, I think it's great, right? It nets him a 4 SCV lead, and there's already a couple of bruised SCVs that the Banshee can go for later on as well at natural, so looking good. Let's see if Spirit can do something with this Raven once again. At the very least, he will evacuate the mineral line as there is no units here to respond immediately.
Single auto turret goes down, all the SCVs get pulled. Actually, losing only a single SCV is impressive. I feel like that's pretty much inevitable, but most of the time you see 2 SCVs dying. Anything more than 2 is obviously sloppy on the defender's side of things. So, good reaction time there by Juanito. Seems to be feeling it a little bit more here in this second game. We have one more auto turret landing in the natural. There goes the first SCV. This time around, there, after all these compliments, he is clearly looking elsewhere, Cats. That is 4 SCVs dying to a single turret. And Banshee, well, I think at this point, don't try to save your Banshee. I hate it when they try to save the Banshee. It's gonna die anyway, so you may as well keep it on top of the SCVs and get as many kills as you can. I like that, and he gets 4 in return.
I like it too, and yeah, you're completely right. He was looking elsewhere, and unfortunately for him, if he was looking at that Banshee 3 seconds earlier, at least he's trading where the Banshee goes in unannounced at the same time as the turret. But here Spirit has all of his attention back because he already dropped the turret. That's all he needs to do, and deals with the Banshee somewhat swiftly here. Now SpeCial looking for another contain.
Yep, it's gonna be hard though. I kind of like how Spirit is often posturing himself rather far forward by making it just so hard, because then at one point you don't have to break a single defense line, but you kind of have to break 2, and that's, I think, the key to his defense against the very different build that Hero Marine used against him 2 days ago in this tournament as well. By defending very far forward, you just make it a whole lot harder for your opponent to keep on pushing, because it's unlikely that even if SpeCial wins the fight, that he wins it in such a convincing manner that he can then do it all over again in the natural.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good start to the engagement here for Spirit, but he will get disabled towards the tail end. However, SpeCial not really going to be able to capitalize without Stim. He can't really run those Marines forward to snipe the tanks. They would have just been on a suicide mission, and the tanks on siege as well, anticipating the land. Beautiful moves from Spirit.
Yep, great micro there on his Vikings. Now, maybe unsieging all 3 tanks at once was a little bit much, because SpeCial, despite the fact that he got out microed there in the Viking skirmish, is not done yet, Cats. He is not going home. Splits up the Cyclone into the natural. Is going to grab a couple of SCVs there, and the tanks are still awfully close to one another. That's not a great fight for SCVs, by the way. Kind of clumsy defense against the Cyclone. Seems like we're worried about maybe what's happening in the front. SpeCial does finally manage to get the kills on those 2 low HP Vikings, as Spirit almost had a miss-rally tank there.
Yeah, this has positionally already such a beautiful game to watch on both ends. Both players looking for opportunities. You were mentioning this area provides that extra layer of protection to Spirit, but also before the rocks are broken down, it makes it so that he can actually take his third, because if SpeCial actually situates himself here, he cuts the blood flow to both potential thirds. And as soon as Spirit does that, SpeCial takes down the rocks, right? Which is beautiful because that offers him another pathway should he want to take it, and now Spirit has to spread himself a little bit more thin. But yeah, I mean, SpeCial and Spirit mirroring themselves beautifully here in this early game. However, the early losses of Spirit compounded with these ones here, though the Viking not really focusing firing the weak SCVs. Looking good for SpeCial on the supply. Double drop, let's see it.
Yep, the double drop into the main base right before the Sensor Tower finished up, but the Sensor Tower didn't even really touch all the way to the right side. Vikings alone, I don't think it's quite going to be ideal defense here. I mean, sure, you get one of the medevacs, but now a tank will fall. These Marines are on a mission. Vikings falling, Raven falling, second tank going down as well. SpeCial, I think, is finding even more than he could have dreamed of here with just a double drop, because Marines are very expendable, but rebuilding Vikings, Ravens, and tanks, that's a whole lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, if this was a chess game, you just traded a bunch of pawns for like horses and the other guys that have like pointy heads. The queen, yeah, the queen's the raven probably at this point. So, looking pretty great for SpeCial here. We were talking about how the supplies were kind of even in the last game, but Spirit had the better units.
Repair?
This time around, it's the opposite.
Repair? Okay.
Hello?
Sorry, mate. I thought for a split second that we were never going to repair that orbital.
Agree. Got scary there. SpeCial relentless with the aggression now into the natural base. He will drop a bunch of Marines, even evacuating. The mineral line is painful, but on top of 10 SCV losses, this game is quickly getting out of Spirit's control.
Yeah, a Spirit can be a little bit like the Terran equivalent of a Showtime, where he can just hang in there for a long time and you think that he should break eventually. I'm gonna say he's honestly handling the pressure somewhat well. Sure, he's taking losses, but it's almost inevitable that he's going to lose a few units here and there, since SpeCial is throwing double drop after double drop at him while still poking with tanks and Vikings in the front. The fact that Spirit didn't completely fumble the ball there, I think is very impressive. Behind for sure, but hanging in there like a true champ.
Absolutely, because SpeCial has gotten that snowball that he didn't manage to get in the first game, and once that begins, it's so difficult to stabilize. So all the props in the world for Spirit or to Spirit to do that, and if there is a matchup where you might be able to come back off of positioning, even off of an economic deficit that he has been in over and time again, then it would be the TVTs, right? Like the tanks can really do magic to get you to that late game positionally, and the sensor towers as well, and how clunky the sieging and the moving of the army is. So yeah, let's see if Spirit can stabilize, but definitely a strong advantage for SpeCial heading into the mid game.
Spirit actually only started +2 attack, by the way, for the bio units. Did not manage to fire up +2 army yet. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or a mistake, as we have the Marines behind the middle line actually getting the kill. One of the Vikings there. You can definitely see that SpeCial is very eager to just go ahead and close this game out, but obviously pushing the issue too hard in TVT could be a mistake, as Spirit does find the APM to siege a Liberator on the other side of the map. Unfortunately for him, it was in range of a missile turret, so that missile turret will take care of it, but still a couple of SCVs went down. Spirit picking up units to drop them in his own main base and try to deal with those leftover Marines of SpeCial. It really does feel that Spirit has been on wobbly legs for quite some time now, but he refuses to go down.
Yeah, and SpeCial has been so overly aggressive that Spirit feels in the first place that he can send his Liberator to the other side, even though on this side he would have had the air superiority to actually dislodge this attack with that Liberator. So, I mean, that kind of sucks for Spirit, right? He makes the decision, okay, I held, you're done, right? And SpeCial says no, he pushes on forward, and yet again, now sieging a lot of tanks, but the Concave is really good for Spirit, and he has the number of Marines here. SpeCial is not going to be able to do much, so he turns his attention to the tank to at least remove and keep that tank count low. Nice moves from both players.
Man, this is insane what Spirit is doing here. He's been under an immense amount of pressure for the last 6-7 minutes, and he's somehow kind of hanging in there. I think this would absolutely be a great moment for him to maybe try to clean up these tanks, because by repairing this orbital non-stop, you are obviously losing a lot of mining time, you're losing a lot of resources. SpeCial refuses to let go of the gas pedal, and he's still just going for it full send, gets a couple of the add-ons here. That's obviously going to slow down the production. Spirit will be able to clean this up, but by the time that he cleans this up, there is another wave of SpeCial's units making its way to the top side of the map. The fact that Spirit is still sort of in this game, and that fight on the left side, by the way, with the tank in range of the tanks of SpeCial and the beautiful Concave, that was a phenomenal fight, but he's still taking a lot of punches to the face here with all these tanks just going ham on the orbital, on the SCVs, and SpeCial knows as long as he's here, it's a very easy access into the main base.
Yeah, and huge props to SpeCial as well, because this hasn't been, while it is snowbally and it looks hyper aggressive, it hasn't been super high commitment at any point. If we look back at his side of the map, he is the one that's been one step ahead as well to take the expansions very diligently and has an economic lead throughout the entirety of this game, while continuing this aggression, while continuing to find the openings, carve those openings, kill those missile turrets, and then using those same areas to kind of siege. It's been a masterclass from SpeCial.
Yep, but he didn't actually build too many SCVs, right? Maybe that's on purpose as well, because he wants to have a lot of army supply, but he's never truly been maxed out. So I think a few extra SCVs would not have hurt it, but these drops, eventually, it really is starting to add up. There is still a tank in range of the SCVs. I think throughout the game, at this point, SpeCial has killed 70 plus SCVs. It must have been, as now the Marines are going to show up as well. It's 70 exactly. Now we're looking at 73. The orbital falls, and I do think that SpeCial has finally done it. After throwing pretty much every every single unit he had at Spirit for 7 minutes non-stop. This is one of these games where even though SpeCial is going to be able to tie things up, I think Spirit looked damn great for the vast majority of this game.
He looked damn great trying to stop a snowball that seemed inevitable from the beginning, but SpeCial, I mean, also capitalizing, never running out of gas, always finding those openings as well, right? Like making Spirit look good in the process of reacting quickly and whatnot, but also just time and time again finding more and more CVs and finding more and more tanks and removing key pieces and keeping the aggression on. Beautiful game from the Mexican.
Yep, for a split second there, mate, I actually thought that Spirit was about to stabilize after he took that great fight, basically between the third and the fourth base, or the natural and the fourth base, where he had an amazing concave of Marines, just got a better engagement, had one tank on the top left side of our screen, just shelling away at the Marines and the tanks of SpeCial, and I was like, he's taking a supply lead, oh my god, he has almost evened things up, but right when he thought he could stabilize, SpeCial had another drop in the main, and I think especially once SpeCial started dropping with tanks, so it wasn't just Marines anymore, but it was Marines and tanks. It became a little bit too much for Spirit to deal with, but awesome game, awesome action, and great to see these two being as evenly matched as we thought they were going to be heading into this best of 5.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of highlights in this game. Beautiful multitasking on both ends. I am really sad about that Liberator that would have crossed the map, because it would have done so much in this situation that we're seeing on screen here, where I think Spirit at some point feels like, okay, I finally deflected your aggression. Finally, it's my turn. And SpeCial was like, no, it's actually my turn. It's been my turn, and it will be my turn until the end of the game. And just never really letting his foot off the gas pedal, like you were saying.
Almost double unfortunate that Liberator did end up sieging in range of a missile turret, right? Because if it's just a little bit further to the right, A, there is a chance it gets a bunch of extra SCVs, and B, then you truly force SpeCial to pay attention to it. So it's attention spawn, and that Liberator could have bought Spirit a couple of extra seconds at home to maybe stabilize, but just a great game with non-stop action. And sure, it felt that it was just SpeCial punching Spirit over and over and over again, but I think Spirit looked awesome in defending for as long as he did. And if this is just a little snack of what the upcoming, hopefully 3 games will be, I am already very happy with what we're getting over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though Spirit did look so good in that first game, SpeCial also had his moments. I really like the fights that he picked. I just think that on offense, it's kind of like up to you to force mistakes, and he just couldn't force mistakes out of Spirit, but he did everything he could to try. And that's why, like, this series has been so evenly matched from my perspective. And yeah, I'm still feeling a 2-3 here, or a 3-2.
I hope you're right, mate. In the top left side, we're looking at the main base of our Mexican Terran player who managed to tie things up, and the boys are leaving town for now. Representing Cistern Gaming, this is SpeCial.
Yeah, and taking the role of the defender so far in this series, I think we could have anticipated that. In the bottom right-hand side, it is Spirit.
So far, it's just a single boy that's making his way to the other side of the map. Now, I have talked quite a few times about Spirit's scouting in TVT, and I find it mesmerizing that Spirit can play high-level TVT against the likes of Clem and Gabe and not make it past the halfway line of this map, or any map for that matter, in the first 5 or 6 minutes, and they sometimes even drop a third CC before ever seeing anything of their opponent. Maybe SpeCial has done his homework, has done a bit of analyzing, because Spirit will send his Reaper to the low ground, right? And then kind of check his natural, sometimes check the third base for a little bit, but then he kind of just sends it back. Maybe SpeCial has something very unique in store for us, and he can potentially punish Spirit in the early game for that sort of lack of scouting.
I think so. I think we might see another proxy building here, because it's not going to be a reactor or a tech lab. We're not going to see marauders. There's no space for those in the position that that SpeCial drops his barracks. So it's just going to be a single Reaper proxy, and those you know, are difficult to make work because your opponent should have the mirroring Reaper on the other side. So it's going to be a factory in the main. And this Reaper, I guess he's just, he's going to bank up Reapers, perhaps? I don't know. What do you think? Maybe just looking for a deny onto that CC that Spirit has been making on the low ground? with the
Yeah,
SCV.
and obviously a dream scenario for SpeCial. Spirit would have gone for the exact same build as he did on Gresvan, right? The one barracks, one gas, fast expand on the low ground. That is not happening. I'm not sure if Spirit caught a glimpse of the units there of SpeCial. Wasn't quite aware. Well, he's going to send an SCV to the low ground.
Okay.
Was ready to expand, but it's maybe the SCV is scaring it. SpeCial does not want to reveal the Reaper here before the CC is built, and the CC does get built. Now, it's still nowhere near as greedy as it was on Gresvan, but at least it's a base on location, and maybe that will allow SpeCial to find a good fight. It really comes down to the Reaper micro here and the grenade micro, as the first grenade does go down, and the second one is kind of a defensive grenade, even flying the barracks over for some permanent vision.
Yeah, unfortunate for SpeCial, right? Because A, Spirit doesn't go for that build, and B, the SCV scout each other, and the Reaper of Spirit gets the first shot on the SCV of SpeCial. So then SpeCial thinks, okay, if we take the Reaper SCV versus the Reaper SCV fight, I lose. And then when the SCV finally goes down, he has to reveal his hand, and that means that Spirit gets the first shot off because his Reapers are out of vision, where SpeCial has to kind of move forward and shows himself to the command center. So yeah, not the early game that he was hoping for, but it's not the end of the world, obviously, but he does have this kind of useless barracks on the other side, right? Oh, cool idea.
We have a proxy starport as well, right? SpeCial really has been Mr. Proxy Starport throughout this qualifier so far. Found a lot of success with it against Reina, a different matchup. Is going to go for it once more in Game 1. It didn't quite work out, but obviously Game 1 was a very different opening where we didn't expand forever. This time around, the command center is a lot quicker for SpeCial, but he knows that it's still a little bit later than everything that's happening on the other side of the map. He invested in that proxy barracks. You want to find a little something here.
Yeah, and this is going to make it more difficult. One less piece to work with in that Reaper falling. And now the Liberator probably, I mean, with this positioning, has to straight up go into main. So it's up to SpeCial to kind of draw the Cyclone out to the natural and then distract him enough for this Liberator to do something.
Kind of feeling Macfield accelerate as soon as well, no? Don't you think so?
With 3 Cyclones, I would like it.
Yeah, I think Cyclones, we are not using our barracks, even though it's floating home at this point. He has built a Liberator. Would not hate it at all. Double Cyclone is going to get the lock-on on the bunker. The bunker is going to get the repair. It takes a little while, but in the end, repair will be good enough here. Liberator in the main base got locked upon by the Cyclones of Spirit, so that Lib gets done absolutely nothing. And that's painful, right? Because now we have Proxy the starport, and SpeCial gets absolutely nothing to show for it. 2 Reapers have snuck to the other side of the map, and there are barely any defensive units here for SpeCial. So he's losing a whole lot more than you ever want to see against 2 Reapers. This is so far all Spirit here in Game 3. Whatever SpeCial had in mind, it did just quite not work out.
Yeah, just trying to metagame Spirit, I think, of the first 2 games. Didn't work out for his opening, and then this Liberator showing himself in the main before the Cyclones engage in the natural means that the Cyclones of Spirit are already tending to the main. So yeah, this is not gonna work out either. The medevac has been locked on, no lock-on available for a while here for SpeCial. Finally gets it, but it's too little too late.
Yeah, I said, because by going in that deep and being that close to the units of Spirit, that medevac was always going to fall. And it obviously means that if the medevacs fall, the Cyclones will go down as well. Pretty brutal. Not exactly sure what SpeCial can do from this position. He is going to drop a second factory, still building Cyclones. There's one more Liberator. SpeCial is really going to have to hope that this Liberator manages to siege up. But this is so hard to get in and out, right, on this map. Like, this Liberator will now also pretty much always die, because that Cyclone has managed to lock on. SpeCial knows that it's going to fall, so he just lets it go and at least denies a couple of extra seconds of mining time. But this is just not the game that SpeCial was looking for so far. Kind of feels that both players have been very convincing in their wins so far, but maybe Spirit looked a little bit better in his loss than SpeCial has done. Now, I don't want to call this game 100% over, but it does not feel like anything has really worked out for SpeCial.
Yeah, off of build orders, it's just not what he was hoping for. And also props to Spirit on defense once again. It's the little things. Look at that supply depot, for example, right? Big shout out to that one. That's not a particularly common one, as now SpeCial looks to perhaps replicate it. But it's kind of like an anti-Liberator supply depot. It gives Spirit those extra 3-4 seconds to kind of react to the Liberator, and as a result, he's always in position. And this time around, the counterattack looks very promising.
Yeah, that's a mild way of putting it. As we have an interference matrix going down on the tank, auditors landing as well. SpeCial's already dropped 20 SCVs, and he's just running out of steam. He has one more safety tank, keeping the natural and the main base safe. That truly is the tank straight out of Fury. Could very well be driven by Brad Pitt cats. I don't know if you saw the movie, but it's a great movie. Fortunately, Brad Pitt didn't make it, and that tank will not make it either.
No.
I do think it is seconds away from curtains here in game 3. It just, yeah, nothing really worked out for SpeCial in this one.
Yeah, absolutely not. And yeah, Spirit looking wonderful in this game. I wonder if we're going to see a more macro-oriented game on the side of SpeCial. He has been the aggressor in all 3 games and still try. Come on, man. I mean, that supply depot's still there, you know, like, and it really gives Spirit a huge heads up as of to what's going on here. So the Vikings already coming back to deal with the Liberator because they have the time. That supply depot says, hey, you know, in the next 3 seconds, there's going to be a siege. So start moving and easy peasy.
The minimap awareness has been awesome so far for Spirit. Only loses a single SCV there to that Liberator. SpeCial still battling, still trying to crank out as many SCVs as he can. I'm actually surprised that he feels that he can make it to the other side of the map. Sometimes, obviously, every choice is the wrong choice, right? If you just sit back and your opponent has a 22 worker lead over you, that's probably not very wise. But yeah, attacking with a smaller and inferior army, that also seems a little bit crazy, but maybe SpeCial can turn water into wine.
I mean, I don't see it, right? Like, units are more than outmatched. The Raven and 1 tank alone almost can deal with this. As the Liberator finally manages to get a good siege into the main. Actually, these Vikings are gonna land on top of the tanks and bio, but even them by themselves before the tanks arrive are enough.
Yeah. I mean, finally, one Liberator found some damage, but in return, we lost the only units we had out on the map. Spirit looks great in game 3. Maybe got a bit fortunate with the build orders, but in Spirit's defense, cats, I watch more TVTs than I would like to watch of Spirit, but I'm just kind of forced by it because he's been doing very well on the Monday nights lately. He doesn't really go 1 barracks, 1 gas, fast expand very often. That truly is, I think, a one-off what he did in game 1, and I feel like hoping that he's going to do that again. It is a little bit crazy because it's not something that Spirit throws in a single best of 3 or best of 5 multiple times. I truly think that game 1 is the only time he's going to be that greedy.
Yeah, maybe so. And now SpeCial is going to have to adapt. I don't think we're going to see a risk from him similar to this in terms of openings. And I'm not sure that he's even going to go for the proxy Liberators again, because Spirit, if you're Spirit, you have to be on the lookout for those. And we saw that he very much was this game. And I think SpeCial needs to come up with something new.
Yep, and obviously SpeCial looked good in the game where he didn't do something crazy, right? Because the second game on Royal Blood was just a very solid defensive opening, and he just kind of made the difference in the drops later on, and obviously had a couple of little skirmishes early on going his way, but there's no need, like, there is no skill difference here where we can say, oh yeah, player A absolutely needs to do X, Y, or Z against player B, otherwise he never wins. No, these two are very evenly matched. Now, one of them is very far away, so it could be a server thing, right? Where maybe on the preferred server for this man, he's willing to sit back, and on the worst server, he's going to be a bit more aggressive. Who knows? In the bottom right side, hailing from Mexico, but currently in Korea, representing Cistern Gaming, this is SpeCial.
And his opponent in the top left-hand side, now gaining the advantage in the series, it is Spirit. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you were saying, I think the least committed aggression game for SpeCial was also the one that he found the most damage, right? Like that Reaper delaying the first CC, winning the fight in the 1v1 against his opponent's Reaper, and then the 2 consequent Reapers delaying the factory and killing 2 SCVs, or trading for 2 SCVs, I should say, kind of started that snowball effect off of a very low commitment, whereas in the other games, he has tried to do so much more damage and hasn't really been able to find it with these proxy builds.
Yep, and he's been a lot more committed as well. I was surprised by the amount of Cyclones we saw in the previous game and then not going into Macfield. Like, I know it's not a cheap upgrade, right? That you just like, oh, if I have a couple Cyclones, it's not like concussive shells from Marauders. It is obviously a much bigger commitment, but I kind of feel like if we go that heavy on the Cyclone and we're truly relying on them to get something done, then I wouldn't hate that, but I know that makes for a completely different strategy and a completely different idea, and I'm sure that SpeCial did the things he did for a reason, but it felt that a lot of things had to go well for SpeCial for his build to work, and the only thing that really had to go well for Spirit was one time a clean defense, get the kill on a couple of these units, and from that point on it would almost be smooth sailing, and I think it really was, right? The moment he killed that medevac, and by killing that medevac the 2 Cyclones were stuck in the main base, I don't think Spirit really struggled after that.
No, he didn't break a sweat. And yeah, I agree with you. As far as like Macfield, if you're going to commit to that many Cyclones, I agree. But maybe it wasn't his plan to commit to that many Cyclones. Maybe he tried to snowball and just wasn't finding the opening. And when you're trying to snowball and you're not particularly ahead in terms of economy, you just want to keep making units, because if you start making the upgrade, it offers your opponent a window of time where you actually don't have the units on the field, that it's invested into something that doesn't kick in until later. And I think SpeCial was always trying to find an opening as early as possible. And you know, you need as many units as you can, throwing them in there as early as possible. He just didn't find the opening, I think.
So it wasn't the plan, but he just got stuck. He's like, just one more.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe
exactly.
one more.
Just
one more cycle is never heard anymore.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that could be it. All right, we've got a Widowmine, very early Widowmine on the production tab for SpeCial. Could obviously be just for defensive purposes. You know, not too long ago, I actually casted a game where the Widowmine had a very big impact. Because we often see it just kind of sit on top of the ramp and then maybe Reapers and Hellions go for it. It blows up a Hellion. That's about it. Sometimes that doesn't happen and it just survives, but it dies later on. But I recently saw a game where the mine just kept on moving. The initial single only Widowmine that was produced in TVT. And then later on, it got moved behind the army of a retreating player, and medevacs and low HP Marines and a tank got blown up by the early game Widowmine. Like, absolute MVP Widowmine, but obviously ultra rare that it has that much impact.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. And yeah, a lot of the time we'll see that Widowmine positioned a little bit further, and if there's enough units, you know, good Terran players always have the one Hellion in front, and then the rest of the units deal with it. But if you've gotten rid of those, yeah, I think you can be definitely a little bit more adventurous as we now see SpeCial moving out. Remember, SpeCial is the player to take double gases first, and even I think his third gas this time around a little bit quicker than Spirit. So it's the onus is on him to potentially do a little bit of damage, but it's not like he's gonna fall far behind from this, right? It's just, and he will have a little bit faster tech.
Yeah, exactly. And he's already going up to 3 bases, so I don't think he's like ultra concerned about, oh, I have to do damage here. Now, falling 5 SCVs behind this early on can look a bit dramatic, but it really has to do with the SCV timings as well when they pop out, because 5 SCVs sounds like a big deal. 3 SCVs is like, oh, that's not that big of a deal, especially if you keep in mind that he's got a quicker third CC. So I like the idea of just kind of going back to what brought us a lot of success on Royal Blood. When we get a strong economy up, we get a lot of units out, we actually get Stim, because that was the only game out of the 4 games we've seen so far that SpeCial got Stim, and he looked great with it. So why not try to get into that spot once more and play it from there?
Yeah, definitely, and conceptually as well. I think psychologically, almost like looking at this series and how it has played out, Spirit is right to think, okay, when are you attacking me? Where's your liberators? Right. So he's the one that has the bunker in front, etc. And SpeCial gets to cut some corners, like dropping that faster CC, like taking his units out, like having that Widowmine in a very strong position, like not dropping the bunker. So things are looking still pretty even, I guess, in spite of the fact that SpeCial was a little bit quicker to the gases.
Can we take a look at Spirit, his units, and press V? I don't know who's a lovely observer. It's either Mapu or Njal. I just kind of want to see what Spirit has seen so far, because as far as I know, that's literally for a scout, right? So we're like minute 6, and this is where Spirit is like, let's just see if SpeCial's actually playing as Terran, you know, just in case, even though he got scanned. But that's the first proper scout that he's had. But yeah, Spirit is just comfortable playing games like this. As he drops 2 E-base, he is going to move out. Triple Raven with a whole lot of energy. Is it triple or double Raven on the side of SpeCial? Okay, triple as well. Oh man, that's gonna be a fun fight to cast. That's all you cats. All the turret, matrix, anti-armor missile. Let's go, baby. Give me hype.
Very nice delay on 2 barracks here for Special. Good trades from the Reapers. Helion as well managing to sneak on by somehow. And on the other side, delaying the CC as well as the SCV transfer that was already ongoing for Spirit. So a very strong 30 seconds or so for Special.
Yep. Now Special doesn't necessarily need to keep pushing here. He can already be very happy with everything that he just managed to accomplish. Pretty crazy that Spirit sent his entire army to deal with a couple of Reapers. Like, of course you can't ignore the Reapers because they kill SCVs rather quickly. But to send literally everything you have and then be forced to float over your CC, build an eBay. I want to see the eBay. Or turret or a depot, anything.
some sort of a transition. And yeah, I mean, Spirit was threatening to move out, but Special actually and Spirit both trading scans. So Spirit sees the army of Special. He says, okay, you're sieging my third. I'll be a little bit slow to that. Maybe I can start moving out. But Special kind of catches him red-handed, and so Spirit is forced to retreat, which means Special has the much faster third mining on location. And Spirit now looking to establish his finally, but Special with a great SCV scout.
If I was Special, I would not engage, man. He is obviously just flying in range immediately. Does get Vikings, so that's awesome. But like at this point, Special is going to grow a whole lot quicker than Spirit, right? He's been able. This is why he should try to move the SCV a little bit. Okay, Matrix does go down. Couple of big tank shots go down. We have the auto turret galore happening as well. What is Spirit going to do with his Ravens? I kind of feel not a whole lot there. What on earth happened? I saw very few auto turrets. 0 Matrixes going down. Spirit lost all the Ravens. Sure, Special did too, but I think Special got a whole lot more to show for it.
Absolutely. I mean, Hero Marine was talking about this a little bit as well. A lot of what the auto turrets do, if you are the first player to drop them, is to deny space for your opponent to drop those auto turrets, right? Because they occupy a space and they're kind of clunky to drop as well. One of the clunkier units in StarCraft, if you can call them a unit. And so Special with that aggression, getting that Viking lead was so big because it allows them to move on forward, to disable the tanks at the front, and then is the first to drop the auto turrets as well. And that initiation for Special was just wonderful as he looks to try to equalize the series. However, Spirit does find 2 siege tanks unprotected, will land for them, but Special kills 20 SCVs while that's happening.
And no mining in the third base, no mining in the main base either. As the Marines go forward in range of the dead zone of the tank, they get one of the 2 tanks there, the other one will live. Look at these Vikings go. We are now managing and microing these individual Vikings. Look at this hit and run kite. Special in the end will end up losing his 2 Vikings, but obviously got himself in an incredibly sweet spot here in game 5. We all in game 4. We all love a game 5, and it definitely seems like we're heading towards game 5 here between these 2 awesome foreign Terran players. As a few more tanks will fall. Spirit does land his Vikings in range of those 2 tanks of Special, but Special, just like he was on Royal Blood, is relentless. He's out for SCVs and he's finding a decent amount of them.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, at this point, he has thrown away a few more tanks than I would have liked. That Cyclone and the Marines almost making up for it. And certainly the amount of SCVs that he has killed makes it so that Special is in a fantastic position no matter what. But yeah, I think we're going to have a very similar game, right? Special faster to his third, faster to his fourth, continuing on with the aggression. And even with this one bruised up Cyclone finding some damage, this looks like a game-ending drop right here. He's going to find a beautiful space here at the natural. The Liberators might have something to say about it, but yeah, not looking good for the poll.
Yep, Special does have a lot of supply that's not actually here at this point. Because you look at the army supply, he's got 50 army supply, and then you see 3 medevacs and 4 Marines left over. You're like, pretty sure we banked a couple of units at home. So Spirit does hang in there a little bit longer, and it indeed could be Royal Blood all over again. Special, 21 workers ahead, has been pretty relentless in killing SCVs, is expanding on location, and it does not seem like he's gonna let his foot off the gas once more. Drops the Marines, kind of a YOLO suicide move, but it's okay. A lot of low HP SCVs here with a bit of target fire. I feel like Special could have killed 5 or 6. Take a look at the minimap though. Another double drop into the main base, and I don't think Spirit has anything in his main at the moment. So more and more SCVs will go down. It truly is Royal Blood all over again.
It really is. It's a wonderful job from SpeCial. He is so good when the snowball begins. We again saw it against Rain, or even one of the most difficult players, if not the most difficult player to out multitask in the world, right? And SpeCial does so here again against Spirit, a Spirit that seems to not be able to catch a breath once SpeCial gets going.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, and SpeCial just has way more of everything that matters at the moment. The orbital will fall, all these SCVs will fall, and the Mexican Terran player is very eager to send us to everybody's favorite, and that is a Game 5 of an important series. Funny, man, they both shined really bright in the games that they won and they dominate. I don't know how the server thing works, Cats. That's the one thing that they don't really inform us on all that much, but I have the feeling that the games on the US West server were 2 and 4, and then the games on Central were 1 and 3. And then I do truly wonder what happens for Game 5.
Quite likely, especially considering like how aggressive SpeCial tried to be, right? Like it almost feels like, taking that into account, he was trying to steal a map, and he hasn't been able to. So if that trend is true, then it should be a slight favoritism towards Spirit going into the next game.
Unless they flip a coin for Game 5.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, you're a big fan of the coin flips.
Yeah, I feel like they would have flipped before the series, though.
Yep,
And we would have this order.
All right, if we take a look at some of the highlights over here of our TVT on Dragon skills. I absolutely love that Viking battle. I love how we pulled it back. But yeah, SpeCial just honestly got ultra far ahead in the Triple Raven versus Triple Raven fight. That also obviously all started because Spirit used his entire army to chase around those Reapers that were being a nuisance in his main base and his natural. And once more, you can't ignore Reapers. Even if you have 50 SCVs, you cannot just ignore 3 Reapers because they're gonna kill SCVs way too quickly. But sending that many units is what allowed SpeCial to force Spirit to lift up his CC, pull it back into the main base. Spirit definitely fell behind, and at that point he kind of got semi-contained. And yeah, the fight, as you mentioned, no auto turrets went down. Maybe a single auto turret went down on the side of Spirit. Not a single matrix went down. It was just a nightmare fight for the Polish Terran player.
Yeah, most definitely. I love that you bring attention back to those Reapers because, yeah, they find some damage. They are forced to be dealt with, but also they kill building SCVs, which forces even more actions, right? It's a little bit more time that Spirit has to re-pull, go to another screen, pull SCVs, put them back on the barracks. That's time that SpeCial uses to continue to move forward on the map.
Yeah, you always want to go for the SCVs that are building something, not because they are more precious or more valuable, or the delay on the depot for the 2 seconds is important. Nope, it just forces your opponent another action, and quite often we see people forgetting that. Or you go for gas SCVs, right? Because minerals is easy to see, but otherwise you can always go for the gas and you force them to click an SCV to the gas. It's all the little things that can make the difference if you're playing a very competitive and very evenly matched series. And well, after 4 games, I don't think these two could be any more evenly matched so far.
Seriously, and I love the fingerprints as well that we're seeing from both players. It's been consistently relentless aggression from SpeCial and Spirit absorbing with beautiful defense as well whenever he manages to pull it off. And even in the snowball games for SpeCial, he has had times where it all looks like he's almost about to stabilize and doesn't quite expect SpeCial to keep being as aggressive as he is. So yeah, I love to see that type of just stylistic difference between players, even though they're playing the exact same race, exact same tools.
Final round fight. The winner of this series will qualify for the Gamers 8 tournament. A big moment for both of these nerds. Which of the lovely nerd can already lean back and just enjoy the show when the qualifiers continue next weekend. If you win here, you're off and you can get ready for the big trip. In the top right side, we're looking at the main base of our Mexican Terran player representing Sidestorm Gaming. This is Juanito SpeCial.
And in the bottom left-hand side, it is the genius of hard work, Spirit.
Big moment, man. I always get a bit nervous for both of the players that you're watching as well, because this may just be the opening weekend, and obviously if you lose here, you've got another chance next weekend. But next week, you've got players like Australia, Clem, Elaser, and Chem joining the ranks as well. And obviously, the 4 players that don't make it this week, they'll be dropping to that weekend as well. It's going to be very hard, man. Only 4 of the 8 next weekend will make it. And you look at Australia, could very well be the best product in the foreign scene 13 or the second best, third best. At least he's very good. We all know that. And Clem is an absolute animal, and that's something we're all aware of. So a win here honestly makes a night and day difference for both of these guys, and that is what makes it such an exciting final game.
Yeah, and Cham is no slouch, but of course, if you do lose, you're praying to get Cham here as well, right? Because, yeah, I mean, those opponents, Estrella, Clem, we talk about how evenly matched these two are. I think we have to slightly favor Estrella or Clem against them. So this is their one shot to really make it far.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, you look at the other players that don't make it this week. So you've got Showtime in there. You've got Lambo in there already as well. Like next weekend is going to be stacked, and it's going to be even more exciting and nerve-wracking than this weekend. But I wouldn't say that these guys have no chance. For sure, they have a shot, right? Because they are good. They have shown us some great games, not just in this qualifier, but in prior tournaments as well. But there's no guarantee. And it'd be so much nicer for either of them to just lean back, put your feet on the desk, and enjoy the show next weekend. And look at that. Both of them actually dropping the expand on location. And Spirit actually did it ultra early. They didn't have a single gas again. So just when I said I didn't expect him to do this twice in a single series, he did it twice in a single best of 5.
Yeah, he did it twice in a single best of 5, but in this fifth game, SpeCial haven't been as shut down as he did when he tried to punish this opening. I feel like you, as Spirit, can completely discard your opponent trying to punish this. So I quite like it, right? Like from the perspective of, yeah, I mean, you got completely shut down when you try to punish this, and this is the last game, your last chance. We both probably feel like we're the favorites to take this game, so I'm just gonna cut that one corner, and it should be pretty safe to cut.
Well, I mean, I still think it's a bit risky, but I don't hate it. Can we take a look at the vision of Spirit? Did Spirit check a whole lot, or did he just check on this kind of the usual Spirit scouting? Checks the third base, checks close to whatever could be next to his natural, and that is about it. Did not seem to be ultra concerned. Did build a bunker though, right? So it's not all out great. Did get the safety bunker up.
Yeah, the safety bunker once again, as SpeCial has this safety widow mine again, so he is very likely to take map control with this if he doesn't see Spirit move out. That has favored SpeCial. This situation that we're seeing unravel right now has been kind of where SpeCial has found his success. When Spirit grants him map control, SpeCial can move out and just has that map control to work with leading later into the game. So yeah, I would love for SpeCial to even just take the mine to the other side already.
As we are just roaming the map with a couple of Reapers and Hellions and entering the Raven phase rather early. What is your gut telling you right now, Cats? Who are you feeling here for this Game 5 between these two?
I don't know, because I agree with your analysis on the server preference. I think that's probably correct based on what we've seen so far and the strategic choices that they have taken. But at the same time, when we have seen this situation unravel, it's been SpeCial. So I'm really torn. It's like I have nothing to go off of, right? One thing seems to favor Spirit, the other one seems to favor SpeCial. We both thought they were evenly matched. We both thought it would be a 3-2 series going into this, I think. So yeah, I have no idea. Flip a coin. We love flipping coins.
Well, we already flipped one coin in the beginning of the game, perhaps, and that coin flip went well for Spirit. The one thing we can go by is that every single game SpeCial managed to get Stim, he won. So maybe that's the deciding factor here in Game 5.
It very well could be. SpeCial is taking that map control that we talked about. And he did play a little bit overly cautious this game, maybe because it is Game 5. He has been scouting around, still accounting for Spirit potentially running into him with the classic like Reapers and Hellions early on, so he doesn't want to get caught in the middle of the map, even though Spirit hasn't really done that throughout the entire series. Yeah, so I feel like while Spirit did get a kind of away with dropping that earlier command center on location, SpeCial is being a little bit more cautious in cutting those corners. So I kind of like that Spirit is being a little bit more adventurous, maybe showing a little bit more confidence.
I did enjoy the scouting there of both players, by the way. Reaper sacrifice into the main base. It's important these days in TVT to see if there is a third CC, right? With all the weird double factory of 2 bases and the more popular double starport of 2 bases, where it's just all about tanks and Vikings. As the other turrets fly in, they drop, and the Ravens, fly in, they drop all their other turrets. Now Matrix goes down as well. I mean, a lot of Ravens will fall. Stim got denied, but it doesn't take that long in this day and age to research Stim. I don't think this is worth it for Juanito, as he's most likely gonna end up losing all 3 Ravens just to get a tech lap and deny Stim.
Gets the Cyclone as well, but yeah, I'm completely with you. I mean, that is 3 Ravens, right? It starts so well for Juanito because it was the worst case scenario. Your Ravens get spotted, one gets locked on. So you can no longer go to the back of the middle line. This Reaper's finding a little bit of damage here. Gonna be 4 SCVs, no, just 3 all day. And now they're gonna go into the main to try and find a little bit more. The classic snipe onto the SCVs, getting some buildings and another one. So Juanito kind of equalizing now.
Yep, these Reapers were about as successful as the Ravens were, and obviously the Ravens gave the alley-oop for the Reapers to be that successful.
One survived too.
And one of them actually somehow managed to get out. That should have never happened, but it did. Yeah, maybe it didn't go all that poorly in the end for SpeCial. Now, Spirit was rather quick to get another tech lab and rebuild Stim, though, so you don't have access to Stim. As we just have extra factories go down on the side of SpeCial. Splits up one more heli, and if this heli can get an SCV, it's going to make you feel good about yourself. There was one more very low HP SCV in the top side of the map, or top side of the mineral line rather, but he was not able to get in range of that one. SpeCial will not go for any Stim here, as we can just see nothing but factories, nothing but tanks. Armory to get dropped as well. It is all out mech for SpeCial in game 5.
All right, bread and butter for him as he is trying to sit on top of a Widow Mine. Does not get to fire onto those Ravens, even though they were not being intended to. I believe the attack move from Spirit will clear it out in time. And now he is moving out to look for a little bit more aggression as the Cyclones try to lock onto a tank, and they will successfully do so. They scan to try and secure the kill, but it won't be enough.
Clean Cyclone micro so far. Got a Raven, got a Viking, keeps both the Cyclones alive, and even managed to soften up one of these tanks a bit. So very well done there by SpeCial. Only ended up losing a single Widow Mine. We all know one of the downsides of mech is that it obviously takes a little while before it gets going, but SpeCial's done a great job in already buying a lot of time with the other turret res, with the Reaper res, and now with the Cyclones in the center of the map. There is a annoying Liberator though in the natural SpeCial that he's gonna have to take care of. We have a couple missile turrets in the main base to deal with Liberator number 2. Will that Lib get out of range? Barely. So another Lib sieging up. This is actually kind of nice harassment by Spirit. The army's also getting dangerously close to one another.
I love this from Spirit, right? He knows the Liberator is sieged. He knows that SpeCial is going to be scrambling for a solution. They're looking elsewhere, perhaps, and decides to move up the ramp. This Marines and Marauders a little bit adventurous, but he's going to love this sort of trade when you're going bio into mech. And the Liberator comes back as well to try and deal with the tanks, as the main has already been evacuated. A wonderful set of moves here from Spirit will net him 17 workers on top of everything else. This is a new Liberator. The one in the main is doing more and more.
Yep, but I mean, SpeCial is gonna try to chase down these tanks. Does he have enough? As a few Marauders show up at the bottom side of our screen. They did have Stim. They went on top of these tanks. I mean, this is a super hectic fight. SpeCial has been floating a decent amount of money during all of this, but I think that's also because he didn't have enough gas, because the Liberators were denying the gas income. So he's gonna have to fix that. 21 SCVs have gone down. SpeCial hangs in there though, and obviously since he is playing mech, he's got plenty of factories up and running. There is a good chance he's going to be able to drag this game out a little bit longer, but I can't imagine that Spirit wasn't happy with how all of that went. And SpeCial is actually still on the other side of the map with a relatively tiny mech army. I find that kind of crazy, Cats.
Yeah, it's the type of army that, I mean, if you feel a little bit behind, you siege those tanks in the middle of the map and hope that your opponent walks into you, then reacts to pull back and just loses some units in the process. But Spirit, too good for that, will take advantage of the positioning of the tanks to get his army further out on the map. SpeCial with a quick reposition here at the ramp will manage to deflect for now, and great positioning here on the Vikings, taking advantage of those rocks and unpathable terrain to try to shell away at the medevacs, as Spirit does find a couple of tanks in the back end.
Yep, not just tanks. A bunch of SCVs that were trying to repair all these mech units that have been battling for a while as well. So that's 10 SCVs going down, and obviously Spirit keeps SpeCial at bay. The main reason why SpeCial was able to close the supply deficit that quickly is because after the Liberators were finally taken care of, he did manage to spend his money rather quickly, and that's why he was able to explode and catch up in supply very rapidly. And if he snipes these medevacs, he's hiding the Vikings at first. Spirit scans, still goes for it. Seems like an absolutely crazy idea. One of the medevacs does get gunned down. The other two barely live. That could have gone a whole lot worse for the Polish Terran.
Yeah, shout out to that barracks as well. It might seem counterintuitive to put a barracks right outside of the range of the sensor tower because you're like, oh, this doesn't really cover that much ground. But of course, trusting his opponent to be as efficient as possible with the pathing, you're not going to go any further than you need to. You're just going to go around the very edge of the sensor tower. So does a great job of spotting that potential doom drop and prevents Spirit from basically snowballing his lead, at least for now.
Man, that first best of 5 today was hard to beat, right? Between Gumiho and Dark. That was fantastic, StarCraft 2. And we definitely recommend anybody who missed it to take a little look at the VODs here on Twitch or anywhere else. They will be posted in the future. But this is really turning into one hell of a best of 5 as well. These guys are really going for it. And even though the supplies favor Spirit, I want to say that's rather normal, right? He's the bio player. And then you're supposed to be up in supplies. He's now transitioning into the triple starport and getting advanced ballistics. But speaking of Liberators, SpeCial has plenty of Liberators now as well. He's also sending to the other side of the map. Good defense though by Spirit, right? Only ends up losing 4 SCVs against Tulips.
A job very well done. SpeCial looks to be the defender this time around, switching things up. Of course, like you were saying, it's bio versus mech. And as mech gets closer to the max out, it's going to be more and more difficult for the bio to take this fight. This is why Spirit is so proactive. This is why he's trying to get the snowball going, the doom drops going. But SpeCial, beautiful moves here, even with the Hellions, even just having his opponent look on his side of the map rather than SpeCial's is a victory.
I do think SpeCial is excellent in late game Terran armies mech versus, well, whether it's bio mech or it's going to be mech versus mech or mech versus Sky Terran, because we're obviously going to get a lot of Liberators with advanced ballistics. I think SpeCial really is one of the very, very best in the foreign scene when it comes to those unique scenarios. Like kind of the games that you don't get to practice all that often, because so many games you just play Marine Tank, so many games end early. This is obviously not uncharted territory, but not something that you get to practice a whole lot, and I do think SpeCial truly excels at games like this.
Yeah, and I mean, we can see glimpses of why as well. 3 Hellions. They kill 6 SCVs, but the biggest deal here is that the army that Spirit wants to have out on the map, you should have map control with bio, and he was headed towards SpeCial side of the map, needs to get split to account for these Hellions. So he needs to continuously pay attention to a very low investment of a SpeCial that's really doesn't care about the Hellions, right? It's really the bigger, stronger army that he is building up.
So we have 17 Vikings on the side of Spirit, 13 Vikings on the side of SpeCial, and 3 Liberators with advanced ballistics. I think Spirit needs to get rid of a few more of the bio units. He doesn't have to throw everything away at once, but I feel that, okay, he's building 7 Liberators at a time, cats. So we go from 3 to 10 Liberators with advanced ballistics. I mean, obviously the splash damage has a lot of potential, but the Liberator sieging up has crazy potential as well against the Thors. I'm so curious to see how these fights will play out. I think it's impossible to call. It truly just comes down to who gets the best of who.
Yeah, but look at this. Spirit already, I think, getting the best of SpeCial positionally, right? Because the armies do pass each other and like ships in the night, as some would say, and the Liberators can account for the Thors. I think it's enough, right? It's gonna be close on this side. On the other side, it's no contest. However, the Vikings win the fight. They're gonna go to the very back of the line to try to avoid these other Vikings and the tanks at the front for SpeCial, who now reacts to try to turn around. But he has a lot to deal with, as we see on the split screen. A very intense moment here, and SpeCial now catching wind of just how committed to the air Spirit is.
Spirit has lost a lot more SCVs though, so he needs to find more damage on the other side of the map. He stims forward, gets the planetary, gets a bunch of the SCVs as well, and that will kind of even things up. The Viking count went from heavily in favor of Spirit to actually slightly in favor of SpeCial after the Vikings were forced to land and battle the Thors. Otherwise the Thors would have just wiped the floor with everything rather quickly, and they managed to do that in the end. Our Liberator is going to siege up one more time. So many Liberators at once showing up. That's justice raining from above if I've ever seen it, and Spirit will be able to clean this army up. SpeCial, however, is rebuilding on his side of the map. Economies 44 SCVs on the side of the Polish Terran, 32 SCVs on the side of our Mexican Terran.
And it does not bode well for SpeCial that his choice was to add additional starports. He recognizes that now that's a dead investment. He has additional starports, but he's never going to catch up to the air control that Spirit has accrued with his 7 Liberator production at a time, right? So instead, he has to go back for those stores. Maybe not what he wanted to do. That means the starports are a dead investment. He hasn't been mining. Meanwhile, Spirit does have a base situated and is situating another one. So time also on his side.
He's actually going for a couple of Widow Mines with drilling claws, and that may seem crazy, but I think it's crazy enough that it just may very well be the only thing that could possibly allow a comeback. Imagine 1 or 2 Widow Mine shots on a clumped up air army, and then your Thor's doing their thing. But Spirit does not want to give him time to even start dreaming about these upgrades. Wants to deny this base once more, and the tanks, the only thing they can do is run for the hills. The Thor count, I'm afraid, is not quite high enough. One little Widow Mine. Is it the little Widow Mine that could?
I highly doubt it. You leave me on that transition to say no. Yeah. No chance. But I agree with you. I mean, if he could have gotten enough and put him out in the middle of the map or something weird like that, it might have been his one opening. This looks dire for SpeCial now, who is trapped on his side of the map while Spirit's economy continues to develop.
Thors are very sick though, right? And that was a lot of bio units the Spirit just lost there. The tank's able to find somewhat of an okay-ish fight. Thor count is at 4. We have a Cyclone on the way. We have Hellions on the way. Drilling Claws about to finish up. Sure, if nothing happens in the next 3 or 4 minutes, Spirit is in all sorts of trouble, but something is going to happen. And this is still a Big Daddy Thor army you absolutely need to respect.
Yeah, and the units are actually clumped up. You probably don't want the Thors on splash mode in general, but when they're this clumped up, it might just be the play. However, I think Spirit knows that he has enough. He's gonna jump on top of the army, and GG will be called. What an amazing series, but Spirit will take it.
Yep, the Thors in the end not able to make the difference. I would not have hated splash damage there actually, with all those units indeed being on top of each other. But it will be Big Piotr from Poland, Spirit, who gets the job done. And he can just relax the following weekend, lean back and enjoy some games. Amazing TVT. Not sure if it was better than the first series of the day, but I think it got pretty close. What do you say, Colaris, in your beautiful Colaris Dome?
Well, in the Colaris Dome, I've got to give it a 5 out of 5 on the Spectacularis meter here for Gamers Without Borders. Joining me, we have Fear Dragon as well as ZG. Fear Dragon, what a series, especially this last game. I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I didn't know which way it was going to go, considering you got the bio on one side, you got all this happening on the other side of the map. As we look at the highlights brought to you by Aramco.
It was such a phenomenal series. There's a lot to talk about that last game for sure. But I mean, even the first game, the second game and everything, I was actually getting a little bit worried even at the beginning of the second game, and especially the first game. It seemed like Spirit really had just the solution to how to deal with SpeCial. The second game, it was also looking like Spirit was making some really nice plays, but SpeCial definitely started firing back. And I think one thing I really took away, and I would say until the final game of the series, was it always felt like SpeCial was oftentimes the one being the first aggressor, being the first one on the other side of the map, being the one going for these drops, being the one that gets up in his opponent's face, at least up until the last game, I should say.
I have no idea what Fear Dragon said. Yeah, I'm so tickled by the Fear Dragon.
Am I puberty dragon again?
Yes, you are. Fear Dragon. Okay, ZG, continue.
Yeah, maybe going off my my co-analyst's point, I don't know. Yeah, TVT was fantastic. I think we saw a lot of high-level display, down to even the micro. In this particular game that we're watching actually on Dragon Scales, there are so many moments where if just these very small micro moments go a little bit better for Spirit, he's probably saved, 4 tanks, a Cyclone, 2 medevacs, 16 Marines. But it just was such a both of them microing like gods. In that particular game was, I think, the highlight for me micro-wise. But then the overall series, and I'm glad the casters brought up the potential potential server differences as to why Special was choosing to play when he was. I think he's also a guy who does mix things up, of course, but just the way that it was happening every other game did kind of maybe nod towards that. And unfortunately, it does seem like Mech is still just not the most dependable. I mean, we don't want to take one best of 5 to determine if Mech is good or not, but overall the consensus is Mech is a little bit worse. And then it was all the games that Special played Mech that he did lose, but they were very, very close games.
Yeah, definitely. The ebbs and flows of this series kind of worked out that way, and that's them breaks, unfortunately, here for Special. As of course, he's not completely eliminated. He still has next week actually to try and move on through. But for Spirit, it's a huge win for Dragon. He's going to Gamers 8 off the back of this. It was a grueling series, but very well worth it.
Yeah, he absolutely earned it. I don't know if I have a super deep voice right now.
Damn it.
Just no, did I lose my deep voice?
It's normal again. Balls.
Okay. You know, if it was still deep after I tried to fix it, I was just gonna try talking in a higher pitch voice to compensate. But anyways, thankfully I don't have to do that for this segment. And I do just get to talk about how awesome it was of a run for Spirit. I mean, yes, he ended up losing the series versus Hero Marine, but again, Hero Marine paid him so many compliments about how strong of a player he is in those TVTs. I think that he showed a really dominant series versus Lambo, and he is riding that momentum from before. I think we have a lot to look forward to with Spirit.
No, definitely. As when you kind of figure things out and everything's gone down here as well as EG, I mean, again, you know, how Special was fighting in this series as a whole across all 5 matches, just very commendable considering, again, he came off the back of a great result in the previous days of this bracket as a whole.
Yeah, Spirit's been playing wonderfully. You know, I know that they displayed some different styles in that best of 5, but just thinking about some of the build-up in the pre-show to that, it really was the battle of the 2 Rock Lees, the guys who have been grinding over the years with less success than you would hope. Special had his round of 4 at BlizzCon, which is still probably the highlight of his career.
Yeah.
But then, like, who's actually going to, I guess, advance on, I suppose, a little bit easier to the main tournament? And today it was Spirit, and after his last 4 months of just consistent improving, it does feel like it's another signal that he really is that next level. He's upgraded to Super Saiyan 4, whatever it is nowadays, and everyone's got to fear him. Legitimately, everyone. I don't think he's had as many weaknesses either. Just kind of thinking back on some of the rigidness that was Spirit back in the day, he's really an all-around player.
Maybe we can all get together and channel the Spirit Bomb Fear Dragon for Spirit. What do you think?
I really love any segment where I'm actually the one making the fewest anime references, but I'm on board with it, you know? Let's dive in on it. Let's talk about it. No, I'm totally in agreement on that. I think that it really is just a fantastic showcase there. And I think, again, like, yeah, Special is going to have a great opportunity. And I do not think it can be understated the fact that Special did still play really well this series. He beat Raynor this weekend. Like, he has a very solid shot of still being able to qualify through the next weekend.
And ultimately, look at this. I mean, Spirit effectively makes what is, let's say, a top 16 already at a tournament that is going to be $400,000 deep. So for Spirit, it's a huge success already to be able to get towards Gamers 8. Congratulations to him. And now there is, of course, just one series left before we actually finish up today. But before we get to that, we have Spirit here to talk about this series. So, drum roll, please. We're going to do the thing where we do the test of the sound. Spirit, can you hear me? And can you hear the other guys?
Yeah, hello. Okay.
Yeah! Oh, brilliant. Okay, phew. I don't have to push you off like I did Hero Marine yesterday. So, congratulations, Spirit. What a victory here for you. Going up against Special, what did you kind of expect going up against him? Because the series was all over the place, a pretty epic one.
Well, basically I expected Mech and some Speed Banshee, or even the Cyclone Pressure build, or even the BC. I watched a lot of replays of him, and I was a little bit surprised he played Bio.
Okay. Fair. Actually, ZG, I'll start with you then first. Do you have questions for Spirit?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so you were expecting a lot of Mech. The games that he won, he was playing Bio. So overall, do you think that Mech is still valid? Do you think that Special is usually better with Mech? Or
go ahead.
I
think basically I think his mech is stronger. I think I had luck last game, but even if he beat me twice with bio, I still was like pretty sure he would pull mech at some point. And yeah, that's why I scouted for this. Also, well, that was basically it.
Yeah. And the casters and us we were kind of guessing was it a server thing? We don't know what servers you were playing on. So did you pick up on any pattern for special?
I felt like I think I picked Central Western Central. I wanted to gain a lead against him because I think if you take a lead against SpeCial, then he play worse later on. Like if he's 2-0 up, I don't think he would lose. And I really thought he was very nervous in last 2 games. Even when he dropped, he just like shift Q the drop, and it was a little bit shaky by him. But I still lost the game.
Yeah, the game 4, I think you're just too far behind, but there was a lot of mistakes made that made it look like it was a possible comeback. And then my last question does have to do with overall your performance. We haven't talked to you since Katowice, and Katowice was already a fantastic performance for you. A lot of great games played there too, especially in TVT. But I don't know if you've been picking up on it. A lot of the commentators have been praising your success in the last 4 months. It really seems like you've improved. Is there anything that you chalk up to that? Is there anything different that's been happening this year?
Well, I just play very calm. That's it. No expectations.
You just get calmer and
gonna lose anyway. So and end up winning.
Okay.
Well, no secret there.
I don't know if it's always losing. You're doing very well for yourself, Spirit. Fear Dragon, do you have questions?
I mean, Zombie Grub actually took a couple of my questions already,
fair.
I do just want to say, congratulations. You played really phenomenally, and I'm glad that today you are not the loser.
Thanks.
There you go. Spirit, any final words, shout-outs before we let you go? Obviously, a phenomenal performance from you today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, you guys, for watching. See you in the tournament.
Awesome. See you at Gamers 8. Congratulations for qualifying.
Thank you.
There you go. Spirit joining us here after what was a grueling 3-2 for him to be able to take over against SpeCial. Again, Fear Dragon, you look at SpeCial, kind of pipped at the post a little bit here, considering the great performance he's shown in this bracket, but he comes in to fight another weekend, next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want to emphasize that I think he has a very solid shot in that. And that is in spite of the fact that next weekend, it's not exactly like he's playing significantly worse players. Yes, this is all based on EPT point standing, so a couple of new other players are going to be introduced that aren't just the ones that lost from this weekend. But those players are not bad by any means. I know Roddy was even talking about this earlier. It's like Estrella, cool. Possibly one of the best, if not the best foreign Protoss player. Clem. Yeah, Clem, easy player, right? Cham, a laser. These are all actually really solid players. So it's a tough battle.
I mean, I already made light of it in the first day, but it's online, so maybe Clem just wins it straight away anyway. Who knows? But thank you very much, guys. We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, we have one final series for today, but it honestly is going to hopefully be a belter because it is a rematch from the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, where Oliveira, the world champion, was able to take down Reina. Let's see if that will happen again or if the reverse will occur.